going on, everybody? Welcome back to MLB Swing for the Fences here on the Run Pure Sports YouTube channel. It's Sunday, July 20th. We've got an 8-game DraftKings slate to talk about. Filling in for Third and Schlong, who I think is celebrating a birthday or maybe another six-figure win. Hard to know with Bryce, but we got Dan here, very knowledgeable baseball guy, does a lot of UFC stuff for us as well. Dan, welcome to the show. How are you doing on this Sunday morning?
What's up? I'm good, man. Holloway won last night, which is always great. I see Chuck Hold'em saying Holland is dead to me. I was pulling for Rodriguez there. I got to the end of the night and I was like, okay, I need D-Rod right now. So I'm basically fucked. And then he came out there and touched Holland's shit a few times. So that was pretty great. But yeah, fell just short last night. Ready to get into some baseball though.
Yeah, fun baseball slate today. A lot to talk about, and I'm with you. Holloway, one of my favorites. So he did end up saving my night a little bit too with his win over Poirier last night. But a lot of baseball to talk about. As I said, 8 games on DraftKings. The FanDuel slate, I believe, is 11 games. Does include Coors Field as well and some other good offense late. So we'll talk a little bit about that as we go along, but mostly, as usual, we will stick to the DraftKings slate of games, and we do start off today in Atlanta for the Braves and the Yankees. 2 righties going here. Grant Holmes for the Braves has had, I think, kind of a surprisingly strong season for the Braves. 7,500 for him. Reasonable price point. Obviously, a dangerous matchup here against the Yankees. Hot, humid, wind blowing out in Atlanta, so we should see the ball flying today. We should see, I think, home runs in this park most likely for today's game. And then Marcus Stroman going for the Yankees. Been a real struggle for him this year. He's been on and off the injured list. Honestly, Dan, he seems like he's only in the rotation because of a pretty large contract. And I think kind of on his last legs, certainly as a starting pitcher in the big leagues, which makes me really like this Braves offense. Yeah, missing Austin Riley, but that top 5 looks good to me. I don't think I'm getting to either of these pitchers in my 10 lineups, Dan, but what are you doing with Braves and Yankees to kick off the slate?
I'm probably going to be getting to some Grant Holmes. He projects pretty well for me down at 7,500. Braves are looking like they're going to be probably my highest owned bats on the slate. Yeah. You said Stroman has looked dreadful. His velo is in the gutter. It's just he's 5K flat, and he projects so poorly that he's not coming up for me at all. So it gives you kind of an idea of what we're working with here.
Yeah, Stroman, one of those guys who's been around a while, so he was never that great of a pitcher. But some of these guys, these veterans, you can kind of see their stuff in decline as it happens. And Stroman, it's not coming back for him. Doesn't mean he can't pitch decently well against the Braves, but I do like stacking in general against these kind of veteran type pitchers who just have declining stuff, and Stroman certainly fits that bill. One of the better offensive environments on the slate too. So I'm with you on the Braves. My favorite stack of the day. Where'd you say you ended up on Holmes? You have some interest there?
My initial runs, I'm getting like 20% Holmes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty flat at pitcher. I usually tend to tighten up there a little bit, but I'm getting to a decent amount of Holmes.
Yeah, Sabres got him projected at 8% owned, so maybe he'll come in a little bit higher than that. But it sounds like you're a little bit more in on Holmes than I am. I do see the strikeout upside. Any Yankees bats you're looking at? I think there's upside here, but maybe home run chasing for the most part.
We'll see who I've got for the Yankees. I mean, yeah, you can always play Judge, right? He is highest probability to hit a home run on the entire slate. Rice has power. I'm mainly looking at Judge, Rice, Bellinger, of course. And then I think probably, let me just see who I've got the most of from the Yankees here. I'm getting a lot of Jazz too. It's probably, he's second base and third base, multi-positional eligibility probably has something to do with that. But yeah, that's it for me for the Yankees. I've actually got, they are like my 5th highest owned, like 5-man stack right now. So
yeah,
it's good.
Makes sense to play both sides of that one. I think I'd throw in Dominguez leading off today as a pretty good play as well for the Yankees. So mostly bats in Yankees and Braves for me. We'll move on to the next game on the slate. It is the Nationals and the Padres. This one in DC. Hot, humid, similar weather to Atlanta. Two good pitchers here going, though. Nick Pivetta for the Padres has been kind of quietly putting together a really, really strong season. Very consistent. Maybe not quite the upside of some other top arms, but I do think he could contend for the top scoring pitcher on the slate. He is expensive at 10.1K. And then you've got the lefty Mackenzie Gore going for the Nationals. Kind of seemed like he wore out a little bit down the stretch leading up to the All-Star break, but has had 11 days off now. It's just a guess, but I personally think that time off probably going to do Mackenzie Gore some good. I would expect him to maybe come out looking a little bit more like he did at the beginning of the season, but not necessarily in this matchup, Dan. Low strikeout rates pretty much across the board for the Padres, whose offense, frankly, isn't that great. It's just hard to get the strikeouts. I do think Gore is one of those pitchers who, can rack up strikeouts against any lineup with the type of stuff that he has. So definitely some interest in Gore. I actually think I prefer him slightly to Pivetta, especially with that $900 discount. I'm mostly off of bats here outside of maybe trying to pick off, some right-handed power for the Padres. Tatis, Machado, I think will go okay at least. Where'd you end up, Dan, with Pivetta, Gore, Nationals, and Padres?
I agree with your take on the bats. Machado, Tatis, even Bogarts to some extent. I like them. I like Pivetta as sort of a pivot off of Crochet. Like we've got Crochet projected to be about 42%. Pivetta is going to be 21%. He's facing a worse team. Stuff looks great. His strikeout prop is slightly worse, but again, that's going to be accounted for in the ownership. So I like Pivetta as like a top end pivot there off of Crochet. Not too much interest in the Nationals bats.
Yeah, I'm a big Abrams and James Wood fan, but I think you can do better today. Pivetta, even to lefties, pitches really well. So I'm mostly off these bats with you. Mackenzie Gore, where'd you end up on him?
Let's see. An optimizer. I'm getting like 13% of him. Let's see what the sim says. I'm running two different things here and just kind of seeing where I land initially.
That looks like it'll be about even with the field. Should be around 10 to 15% for Gore, I think, owned.
Yeah, I'm getting like 12 Gore in the sim and the optimizer. I've been using the new portfolio diversification in Sabre, and it's like one click of a button and it does all the shit that I like try to do with custom metrics, and trying to get diversified is like the biggest struggle using any kind of sim, and they just kind of like, here it is.
Which could be it's a good thing if you know how to use it, for sure, but just another tool obviously to use for people grinding these, which obviously a lot of people watching are. But I'm higher than Gore, I think, than the field, and maybe a little bit than you are. Kind of a gut call with him, but I think we see a strong outing from Mackenzie Gore today. We'll move it to Philadelphia for the Angels and the Phillies. Jose Soriano going for the Angels here. He's been really all over the place. Kind of started off a little bit disappointing, then had that just epic stretch of games, 4 or 5 games where he's putting up 30 plus fantasy points every time out. That he's been, frankly, pretty rough, shaky in these last 2 starts, 8 walks in the last 2 starts, which has been a problem for him in general, even when he was pitching well. It's a tough matchup here, of course, against the Phillies, who've got a lot of dangerous bats. Looks like good hitting weather in Citizens Bank as well, which should have it playing very hitter-friendly today. And then Suarez on the other side has been very, very solid. Missed the first month of the season, but since then, been trucking right along, really with no bad outings almost at all. So Suarez feels like a really strong floor play to me, with some upside as well against a high strikeout Angels team. Of course, the Angels do have plenty of power from the right side. It's a good place to hit. So I don't think Suarez is completely safe here, but dude knows how to pitch. He's going to give you, 6+ innings most of the time. Had a streak of 5 straight starts recently where he went 7+ innings. I think Suarez is pretty interesting here, even with some risk of giving up home runs in this game. Dan, what about you? What do you see between the Angels and the Phillies here?
Yeah, I think I actually prefer the Angels bats to the Phillies bats. This is probably the best hitting environment on the slate. It's rating out better than Coors at the moment, actually. So there's just way more home run upside with the Angels. The Phillies, they've got, Schwarber. Let me see here. Yeah, you've got Schwarber and Harper, but not much home run upside in the rest of the lineup. Angels, totally different story. You've got Neto, Trout, Adele, Lord, Ohapi. So you've just got way more home run upside on the Angels side. I'm going to be playing more Angels bats. Suarez, I'm not really getting to all that much, maybe like 10%. Soriano, I'm getting even less than that.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Suarez, I do think he could give up runs here. With the Angels, too, certainly a team that you can play one-offs against. I mean, most of these guys, there's not a lot of speed here. You're really looking for the home runs. I don't think Suarez is particularly likely to get, blown up. Just not that type of pitcher, but could see a home run or two for sure, given all the power in the Angels lineup. Some storms in and around Philadelphia. Really, most of the East Coast has a little bit of risk of rain, but I do think, Dan, that most of these games are going to play just fine. So that's how we're getting. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I'm just not seeing any PPD risks anywhere. And usually when there's stormy weather, I'm not a weather expert, but a lot of times stormy weather brings really good hitting conditions. So sometimes, if you get questionable weather and you have a really good hunch that the game is going to play, I like to just slam a spot like that.
100%. So some of those spots where it's they start in delay, but it's clearly going to clear, half an hour into it. Those are good spots. You get lower ownership for sure. So we'll keep an eye on the weather. Maybe we'll have time at the end of the show to revisit. And of course, we'll be in the Discord with final calls just over an hour from now with the weather stuff. But for now, we're both, I think, proceeding as if all these games are going to play without much issue. We'll adjust accordingly if needed, of course. White Sox and Pirates up next. Battle of the basement dwellers here. You've got Andrew Heaney and Aaron Savale, two veteran pitchers, two very mediocre at best veteran pitchers. It's been a rough ride for Andrew Heaney, especially lately. He's been in the negative DraftKings points in 4 of his last 5 starts, which is hard to do. Of course, sandwiched right in the middle of those is a 30-point outing. That's baseball for you in a nutshell. Highly variant sport, and you can see, a pitcher of Heaney's caliber go -10 or put up 30 from time to time, which maybe it's one of those games where he has a good outing at 5,800. He does, of course, get this White Sox lineup, which is really not anything scary whatsoever. So does seem like a good spot, at least for Heaney, even if he's not a good pitcher. You could say the same thing for his mound opponent today, Aaron Savale. Again, very, very mediocre arm, but he is probably going to give you 5+ innings against the Pirates, and he's 5,300. So I think these guys are at least in play so far, Dan. I don't find myself getting to either Heaney or Savale in my 10 lineups. Could change. I haven't finalized my build, but yeah, this game, I think I'm going to mostly end up avoiding it. I don't see a lot of bats that I really want to play here either. O'Neal Cruz, probably my favorite hitter in this game, but overall, just kind of an unappealing game unless maybe you like the cheap pitching. Where are you at, Dan, with Pirates and White Sox here?
Yeah, I don't like the pitching at all. I do have some interest in the bats, though. They're just really, really cheap, and the wind is blowing out hard. So it's decent hitting weather against, you covered it, 2 total gas can pitchers at the moment. Like both of these guys, their velo's down, their xFIP is sky high. So I think you see a lot of runs in this game. I was surprised. I started running stuff before we came on, and I was like, Pirates and White Sox, I must have fucked something up. But it looks good from a value, but probably not when I run an optimizer, it's jamming. So I'm going to pull back a little bit just because I don't want a shitload of Pirates and White Sox, but I think they're really good as secondary stacks. And they'll probably be like my 5th, 6th highest owned stacks here.
Yeah. I mean, everyone outside of O'Neal Cruz, who is still expensive, is pretty much dirt cheap in both of these lineups. So that makes sense to me. I wish the White Sox had more power to get to Andrew Heaney is part of the problem. Like, I'm with you. I don't really expect these guys to pitch well, but is there going to be enough fantasy production, home runs from either of these teams? I kind of have my doubts. I will say, yeah, someone said it in chat. Yeah, Rocket Sauce. Luis Robert down there at 3,500, trying to hit his way currently out of Chicago, I believe. So on the trade deadline. So maybe an extra motivated Luis Robert, which frankly with him means a little bit more. So I'm with you. I do think Luis Robert and O'Neal Cruz, the two guys I'd look at most closely in this game, which I probably won't get too much further beyond them. And yeah, you know what? I'm not playing Heaney or Savali. I'll find someone else to play, Dan. These guys probably not going to pitch super well. I think Cleveland and the A's are up next. This one in Cleveland. Looks like the wind blowing in pretty significantly here. I do see Ballpark Pal still thinks he's going to play fairly friendly for hitters, which is a little surprising to me. But in any case, Jeffrey Springs going for the A's. He's pitched actually pretty decently recently, including a lot of games, of course, in Sacramento, which is a really tough place to pitch. 5,900 for Springs. Maybe growing on me a little bit. I don't love this Guardians lineup. There is strikeouts. I think Springs is a better option than both the guys we just talked about, Heaney and Savale, if you are trying to save some salary. It looks like he'll be around 10% on. I think that's fair for Jeffrey Springs. And I kind of like the pitcher on the other side too. Gavin Williams, really wild, and it's been kind of a up and down season for him, but I do really like the talent for sure of Gavin Williams, and they do let him go, as deep into games as he can. That's usually just 5 or 6 innings, but they let him throw close to 100 pitches basically every time out, and a lot of strikeouts against this A's lineup, at least in theory. Some danger too. There's power, Butler, Kurtz, Rooker, Langelier, Soderstrom, all these guys are home run threats, but I think Williams has quite a lot of upside at 7,100, Dan. Interested to hear your thoughts on Gavin Williams, Jeffrey Springs, and then, of course, talk about the bats here as well.
Yeah, I like the pitching in this game. Both of these guys have the most strikeout upside for their price. You've got Jeffrey Springs all the way down at 5,900. He's propped at 4.5. Gavin Williams 5.5 for 7,100. So that's really strong. Plus, you've got the weather, the wind's blowing in. I know Ballpark Pal still has it as favorable, but it's pretty far down there. So yeah, pretty interested in the pitching here. And then the only bat that I'm really getting a lot of is Jose Ramirez, which obviously. So I'm mostly going to be avoiding the bats here. But to your point, there is a good amount of power in the A's lineup. So if you wanted to play them on a Sunday at really low ownership, I don't hate that at all. Kurtz, Rooker, Langelier, Soderstrom, tons of power.
I do think Gavin Williams is more blow-up prone than most pitchers kind of his talent level too. Again, I do like him, but he is a pitcher who relies on the fastball and also one that falls behind hitters. And that, obviously could get dangerous against a powerful A's team. So I think most of their power bats are, I think, a little bit lower owned than they should be. And they're priced pretty fair too, right? I mean, 4,600 for Kurtz, 4,500 for Rooker. More than fair for their home run probability. So maybe one that I'll play a little bit of both sides. But yeah, I'm with you. Pitching is my primary interest. And then I don't see anyone else on the Guardians other than Jose Ramirez, who's really worth much of a play at all. But as always, Ramirez, just an elite one-off. Sometimes I talk about it a lot, but sometimes these teams that have just the one star, you get them lower owned than you should because nobody wants to play the bats around them, right? And most people are stacking these days. So you get a player like Jose Ramirez, a really low ownership, and he's just doing his thing like he always does. So I think a pretty strong contrarian play there with Jose Ramirez. To bring it out to the Mets and the Reds, this one in Citi Field in New York. Similar weather to the rest of the slate that we've talked about so far. Hot, humid. Two pretty good lefties here going, though. David Peterson for the Mets. It's been a strong season for him, for sure. Most of the Mets pitching has pitched well. Peterson included, and then Andrew Abbott on the other side. Again, another pitcher. there's a few on this slate who have really dialed it in this season. Today, Dan, I think Peterson is the more interesting of the two. Obviously, mostly due to the strength of the matchup. Should be a much easier time for Peterson against the Reds than it is for Abbott against the Mets. But no Pete Alonso in the lineup today for the Mets, which is, of course, a huge boost for a lefty like Andrew Abbott. And reasonable price points, I think, for both these guys. Where'd you end up, Dan, with Abbott, Peterson, and the bats here?
I'm not getting much of this game at all outside of like the usual suspects of Lindor and Soto. But other than that, this isn't a really offensively friendly environment today. Peterson is just kind of whatever. Like, I don't mind him, but there's just better options around him. And same goes for Abbott. It's like they're both just they just look both really mid to me today.
Yeah.
So I'm not going out of my way to really get to anything in this game. I'm getting Lindor and Soto, but that's about it.
Yeah, I don't really see a whole lot else to like. Austin Hayes looks okay to me. He's smashing lefties. It's just, like you said, not the greatest place to hit. Pretty good pitching on both sides. It does seem like there are easier paths to take on this slate than going to Mets and Reds. So I'll probably be with you and mostly back off of that game. Let's get
McLean is fine.
Yeah.
Ellie.
Again, that middle of the Reds lineup does look okay. It's just I just don't see the Reds putting up a huge number on Peterson. He just hasn't allowed that really all season. And I do think on a pretty big slate with good hitting weather, you're going to need your stacks to do some serious damage. I would be surprised if the Reds do enough overall to get there. But individual plays do look okay to me. KC and Miami up next as we work through this DraftKings slate. We've got Chris Bubic going for Kansas City. He's come back to earth in kind of the last 6 or 7 starts. Was one of the better stories of the year to start the year. I think pitching more to his true talent level now than he was earlier on. He's still priced like a true A stand at 9,800 to me. I don't think he's quite that level of pitcher. It does get an okay matchup here against the Marlins, but I've been talking a lot about Agustin Ramirez, Kyle Stowers, really all season. These guys, at least, proven me right on those points, hitting for a lot of power. Not the best matchup for them, but I just bring them up because I don't think it's a perfect matchup for Bubic either. I think some people see the Marlins and kind of think complete cakewalk. Not the case necessarily anymore. And then Jansen Junk, another guy. I've played him in his last 2 starts. I think he's still flying under the radar because he's not a huge strikeout guy. But I've talked about he basically has the best control command metrics by a lot of measurements of any starting pitcher in baseball, and you've seen it in the results these last 3 starts. He's not going to put up a monster score, and frankly, it's not a high strikeout lineup against the Royals. But at 6,100, to me, I think Junk is the safest cheap pitcher on the board. Gets to pitch in Miami. Roof will be closed, I assume, so good place to pitch. I don't think he's got a ton more upside than kind of the 20 fantasy points he's shown, but I do think he's got a decent shot to get there again, or at least give you 15 plus, which at that price point, I would take that for sure. I'm guessing, like usual, nobody's going to play Jansen Junk. Yeah, it looks like 3 or 4% owned via Saber. Not surprising. I'm sure his strikeout prop is pretty low. Frankly, it should be, but I do like him a little bit if you need the savings. Dan, your thoughts here? Bubic, Junk, Marlins, and Royals.
Yeah, I mean, for Junk, his prop is 3.5. You got Springs right below him, Soriano above him, even Horton above him.
It's hard to play a 3.5 strikeout prop.
Yeah. It's really tough, and I actually have like a good amount of the Kansas City bats. I feel like Kansas City is a team that is always projecting well, and I'm always kind of like clawing back, which most often that feels right. But there are always those times where I like really pull back on Kansas City and they just go off. So I like the Kansas City bats a good amount today. I think I like Bubic a bit more than you do as well. he just projects fine for me. I'm getting like 24% of him right now.
Yep.
I might pull back on that a little bit just because I like Pivetta a bit more, but I think Bubic is like really solid for 9,800 today.
Yeah, that's fine. I like a few guys better. I do like the cheaper pitchers. We talked about Junk, Gavin Williams, Springs. I do think there's cheaper pitchers you can use, which has me leaning that way. And then I do like Mackenzie Gore over Bubic, and definitely Crochet, who we'll talk about, and maybe Pivetta. So I don't think Bubic is a bad play, but I'll be leaning a different direction. Even Suarez, I think I like better than Bubic. So small disagreement between us on Bubic. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about your Royal stacks, Dan. Get them out of there. They're not going to do, I don't think, a bunch of damage to my guy Jansen Junk, but we'll see. I get it with the Royals. Even a worse part, they can't even get it done in Kaufman when the wind's blowing out, but maybe they can do it in Miami. Let's get to the last game on the DraftKings slate. Did you have a chance to look at the 4 games after on FanDuel? I don't even know if you.
I haven't looked.
Okay, we'll skip those. I'll maybe talk briefly about them, and then we will do some of the stuff to wrap up the show and get out of here a little bit early. We got core plays, lineups to build, all that good stuff, and Discord to get into. But first, of course, let's talk about a very fun game here. Wrigley Field, Cubs and Red Sox. Wind blowing in. Looks like pretty significantly. Our friends over at Ballpark Pal do have this as, by frankly, a large margin as the best pitching option, pitching environment, rather, on the entire slate in Wrigley, with home runs being, looks like, pretty suppressed today, which obviously should be a good thing for Garrett Crochet, who's been, of course, incredible this season, coming off complete game, 9 strikeout shutout against Tampa Bay. Even with the weather, I don't think this is an easy matchup, Dan. I mean, obviously the Cubs have one of the best lineups in baseball. Looks like they've got pretty much the best lineup they could throw out there today. No surprise. But man, Crochet, you don't have to worry about power, which can be an issue with him, or you don't have to worry as much about power. And even, some of the best Cubs hitters, Tucker, Crow, Armstrong, they can both hit lefties. I'm not sure they're going to hit Garrett Crochet left versus left. So he is my SP1 on the day, but it's not the cleanest spot in the world, in my opinion. I wouldn't be surprised if the Cubs did some damage. Cade Horton will go for the Cubs. To me, not really on the list, but he is cheap and it's a good place to pitch. So I guess maybe you could make the case. I think I'm going to go elsewhere, but probably mostly avoiding bats in this game. Certainly not taking much, if anything, against Crochet. And I think the Red Sox side's a little bit better, but I don't really want to load up on the hardest hitting environment of the day on a big slate. So mostly just Crochet for me here. What about you, Dan? What do you see, Boston and Chicago Cubs?
Yeah, Crochet is going to be my highest owned pitcher. When I first saw Chicago's team total at 2.5, I was like, well, that seems wrong. But then,
is it really 2.5 for team total?
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, it's 2.5 on Pinnacle. Yeah, I mean, obviously the Cubs, they have kind of been spitting in the face of bad weather a couple times this season. Like sometimes it just doesn't matter because they're such a good hitting team. So I don't mind sprinkling 5% Cub stacks maybe in there, just contrarian. But yeah, I've got a ton of Crochet and mostly the power bats from Boston from this game, but I don't have a whole lot of bats from this game. Mostly the pitching. I've got 10% Horton. Yeah, that's about it. Like the home run numbers on the Cubs players are just really, really bad today.
Yeah, it's going to be tough in this game for sure. So I'm with you there. Real quickly on the 4 remaining games on the FanDuel slate. Obviously, Minnesota, Rockies, and Coors Field. Hard to get away from the Twins, I think. I also like Joe Ryan a ton in that game. Obviously, with the strikeout upside against the Rockies, and there's a lot of pitching options in these later games, afternoon slate on DraftKings, of course. But yeah, Hunter Brown, amazing spot for him. I would rank Brown over Crochet on DraftKings, and then pretty good spot for Brian Wu as well. Dodgers and Brewers would be mostly hitting there on the Dodgers side against Quintana. Kershaw probably wouldn't play him, but not going to go against him either. And then I do think the Diamondbacks have a good chance to do a lot of damage against Miles Michaelis, always a good pitcher to target against. So real brief there for people playing FanDuel. Dan, let's go back over some of our favorite points, most important points from this slate. We'll start with pitching. You're an MME guy, but if you had to narrow it down to your favorite combination at pitcher, what do you think you're looking at today?
Crochet and Springs looks good to me, or Crochet and Holmes if you are saving salary on bats. So those would be my two.
Yeah, I do think Crochet is the best spend up. I'll add Gore in the mix, but I will say my favorite combination is going to be, you know what, I think Crochet and Springs is the best option, but Gavin Williams and Jansen Junk, two other cheap pitchers I'm looking at. And personally, mostly avoiding, unless you count Gavin in there, most of the mid-range, I think is not plays you necessarily want to get to today. So we'll be a bunch of all the way up to Crochet and then down to some of the cheaper pitchers on the slate for me when building out lineups. Stacks, Dan, we got 8 games to choose from. 3 stacks that you're looking at for your lineups today.
So unfortunately it's Braves, Pirates, and White Sox.
Pirates and White Sox both make the cut on this slate. All right.
Three super reliable teams.
And then the Braves, who never disappoint anyone either.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, man. After that, I've got Yankees and KC. So just a complete trash heap for bats today.
It's actually not as good a spot for hitting as you would think here on, good weather. Just, I'm with you. Nothing stands out. The Braves do, I think, stand out as clearly the best option against Stroman. They're the team that I want the most. That top 6 in particular looks good, but the bottom of the order is super cheap too. So Braves will be chalk, but I'm with Dan. I think they are I think they are the best option on this slate. Other spots I'm looking, that same game, I think the Yankees can do a number on Grant Holmes. I'm not a huge believer in him. I love that Yankees power. Dominguez, Judge, Bellinger, Stanton, and Jazz all look good to me. You can go 1 through 5 with the Yankees. And I'll throw in the Phillies. Haven't liked what I've seen watching Soriano these last couple starts. Kind of seems like the league adjusted back to what he was doing, and Schwarber, Harper, both locked in right now. I know the Phillies can do a ton of damage. Hot weather in Citizens Bank. They feel like a team to me that could put up a slate-winning performance. So I am in on the Phillies. Again, it's Braves, Yankees, and Phillies for me. Dan, give us a home run call, and then we'll get on out of here and get to building our own lineups. Who's going deep today?
Home run call. Let's find a fun one. How about? Oh man, I got a lot to choose from here. Let's go with O'Neal Cruz.
O'Neal Cruz. I like that call. I will go with the Yankees leadoff man, rookie Jason Dominguez. Think he's going to be in for a big second half of the year. Maybe starting today against Kenny Powers wannabe Grant Holmes. That'll do it for this slate. Game Log Mondays back tomorrow. Me, JT, and Big T. Always a fun show. Looking forward to that one as we get back into the swing of things here in baseball season. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We do appreciate it. Thanks for Dan for filling in for Schlong. Good luck in all your lineups today. Enjoy your Sunday. Till tomorrow, he's Dan. I'm DC. We're out of here.